Okay, so there's a number of departments that are currently using the VLE to assign homeworks to their students. This is just some of the ways that the DT department are doing it, just to create a talking points, if you like, and to show what types of things are possible. Okay, so you could set quick homeworks, but I've always tended to create lessons so that I can reuse them. And when you have created a lesson, it looks like this. You simply just click it in the future and just assign it to a new class. So, for example, you'll find many ways you can use this. These are just some of the examples, the way I'm using it at the moment. I would have used this PowerPoint here to teach my class in the lesson, and this is what I would have flicked through. And within that there were some embedded YouTube videos, and just the basic knowledge, the content they need to know, and they need to refer to this in order to answer the questions that I'd set on the lesson itself. So in order for them to give a definition of a smart material or say what an SMA is, they'll need to refresh their memories on this. And those questions are deliberately designed to make sure it pulls them through the 12 or so slides. And some of the questions make sure they've looked at the videos again at home. So maybe the questions I didn't set in class, for example, to make sure they're all going back over it. And there's a little extension task there as well. This is a nice thing of doing these lessons, get into the habit of just setting an extension task. And I always find it's amazing how many of them actually take you up on the offer. Quite often that'll be a mind map. So watch this video and create a mind map of what you've learned, and that can be quite open-ended in that respect, and not too much effort on the teacher's part. Okay, this is another example. My class had set a mock exam, and I've marked that and given it back to them with a percentage out of 100, or the class could have marked that themselves. Their homework was to look at this this homework lesson, and to look at this PDF, which is actually from their exam board. It's the mark scheme, and flick through wherever they've just been given a cross by myself. So instead of me correcting every mistake or the same mistake over and over again, I just put a cross. They were expected to open up this and then correct themselves in 4 sentences. Another advantage of this, it's very useful. You get to see the actual notes to the person marking the test, ourselves or the assessor of the exam. For example, do not accept marking outlines on its own. That's something that they would typically do, and they wouldn't get marks for that. So it's good for them to see that our hands are tied in that respect, and that should help them remember that come the important day. You can also, instead of just attaching the PDF direct from the website, a tip may be to print it out first, get a red pen, preferably thicker than the one I've used here, and then you can give additional kind of child-friendly notes. You can emphasize certain things, you can talk about common errors, you can give exam tips, that sort of thing. Another advantage of this perhaps is you expect to get the exam back 100% correct from everyone in your class, and those who've already got 100% or very high, I asked them to give me an alternative note. So here this question's worth 4 marks, and each of these is worth 2, so they can give me an additional alternative accepted answer, so that they keep them all kind of working and keep everyone pushed along. Similar to that is this homework here. Again, I would have marked the test they sat already. This time it's a Word document. And in this time I actually wrote the answers out myself. So I gave them a number of alternative answers using sentences. I expect them to get into the habit of answering in. It's much the same. In this example, you can see how with a very small amount of writing on the teacher's part, you can just put a link into a website. They'd click on that link, you'd get the benefits of a nice kind of moving images GIF there, etc. Scroll down the page and you'd see the questions they need to answer. Okay, lastly, you may choose to set a homework that lasts a whole unit of work. So that's what I typically do at Key Stage 3, because we have a class for 6, 7, 8 weeks, and now I've only got to set this homework to them once at the start, and I delete it at the end to keep things nice and simple, so I'm not constantly having to log in and go through that process and remember, do I need to set this at this time, and for the extra stress. This has worked out quite well actually. So in this example, like for example task 1, in the lesson we very quickly looked at the history of electronics, but did not have enough time, would love to have had time, but did not have enough time to go through everything, just some of the basics. The homework for them in this respect is just a mind map of the development of electronics. So they can refresh themselves on some of the key points, and at the end there they can look at a few clips that we've put onto the department's YouTube site. And some of these are sort of 10 minutes long. This is extension tasks here. This is a link to a page that I found, or asking them to look at Wikipedia or do their own independent research. I must admit I do quite like mind map activities because they're very open-ended. Sometimes you get pages and pages and pages, and other times you get the basics, so it's kind of a differentiation by. Another thing you can do, if you set this one lesson and it lasts for 8 weeks, for example, you could put things like we've done here, stages guide. And this has got every stage. Now that's every stage of the making process, and what I was lucky enough to do was to video Mr. Thomas when he had shown me how to make these few testers when I first arrived. I videoed him, and if they miss a lesson or they want to refresh themselves or do a better job for their project diaries, they can just go back and watch those. Some of those links are going to be 1 minute long, some are going to be 15 minutes long. But it enables them to go back and refresh themselves and do a better job on their homeworks. I must say that when we started going over to this, the quality of their homework was vastly improved, because I used to forget what stage was what, and this enables you to guide them much more thoroughly, put exemplary work up there to keep them pushed along. Okay, absolute last one from me. This homework is very similar in that it lasts for the whole 8 weeks. It's worth, the reason I've popped this one as well is I just want to make a point about videos. You can have links to videos, which could be really, really good. However, you could choose to embed them in the same way you embed a PowerPoint. The issue with that is they will have to, at home, pull it through their broadband connection, which may be very dodgy. It might take a long time. Typically, if it takes more than 1 minute to do, they'll say it just didn't work, which can be an issue. Equally, they might not have the right codecs to play it. If different teachers using WMVs or AVIs, different types of formats, that can be an issue too. So wherever possible, I think it's worth uploading it onto YouTube. Another little tip you may want to do is actually rip it and then just resend it to your department's YouTube site, so that you don't have to worry about being gone in 6 months' time. For example, I've got lots of videos which I then later decide to make private listings of, so that other people can't see them. Now, if other teachers had used those videos, they'll go one day, they'll ask their class to look at it, it won't be there. I don't want that happening to me. So it just makes the time spent more of an investment. Now, this, for example, is a video that I found on plywood. Some buildings come. Now, I accept that plywood may not be as interesting to people outside the department as it is to us in the DT department. And that could be true of some of the kids. So this is Richard Hammond. He is looking at lots of different engineering type things, one of which is plywood. There it is. He ends up driving a bike over there. He talks about the history of it. It's all nicely produced, so I can't really compete with that. So I've watched that video, generated 5 questions relevant to it, and then that's going to be their homework for the next, hopefully, couple of years. Similar to that is this video here on MDF. Not interesting in its own right, but as soon as you can see this monstrous great chainsaw device taking down trees, becomes a little bit more interesting. That makes the link to deforestation and sustainability much more relevant, and they can see the scale of it. So hopefully it all just becomes a bit more memorable because they see that process. Okay, and there's some more videos there, some more extension activities where they can look at a web page on Technology Student and draw a diagram. They could look at some more videos just out of general interest, or you can ask them to draw things, answer questions, think of questions for starters, those sorts of things. And lastly, always worth putting the actual booklets that we give them, embed that on there as well. So if they lose it, you can say, well, go on to the VLE and print yourself off one. So it's not up to you to run around and to find them a replacement booklet, which can take up quite a bit of time sometimes.